Hi Kawan, welcome to EDCReady. Today I'm talking about my 3 most carried knives of the year 2022 so far. And I have a lot of great knives in my collection. I have great, very rare knives like this. This is a Protech Malibu production knife. Great button lock, great materials. However, not the most carried knife, even though this is one of my favorite knives, if not my favorite knives ever designed. Next up, another great knife, ZT-0450CF. ZT is a good knife brand. It's from Dmitry, which is a great knife designer. Definitely don't carry this guy on most occasions. I also have a lot of great budget knives. Here is a Ganzo F754 in 440C. Great budget knife, and to be honest, if I'm traveling or like driving long distance, this is the knife I'm carrying most of the time. But in my daily life, when I'm just going to the office, so I'm going to my parents' house or I'm going to see some friends, more often than not, I will carry one of these three, and I want to talk about these three and why I carry them. Let's talk about the cheapest one in my collection. This is the CRKT Razecliffe. Is designed by John Graham. You can see there, Graham Design. Rest in peace, we recently did lose him, so he's definitely a great knife designer, and he definitely has a very specific design language. So here it is. This is a steel frame lock, which means that this guy, to be honest, it's not that it's heavy, but he does feel a little dense in the pocket. And that's because it's so small but relatively heavy. However, one great thing about this guy is that it is very thin. If I can just switch on my calipers, switch it to inches, there we go. Switch, there we go. Switch it to inches, zeroize it. We are gonna get only 0.37 inches, or in millimeters. Okay, zeroize that. We're getting about 9.4 millimeters. So very thin guy in the pocket. And to be honest, carries a lot better than I thought it would. I thought because of this dense nature, it's gonna be a little bit like heavy in the pocket, but it carries really well. It's definitely out of the way. You have a lot of room for your hand to get into the pocket. It saves a lot of pocket space at the bottom of the pocket and just carries really, really well. I really like this guy. Other than that, it has this kind of black stone wash, which means that even though all of this is stainless steel, including the blade, which is 8CR13 MOV, if I'm not mistaken, it's definitely a stainless steel blade and stainless steel handle material, but because of this black stone wash, it's even more corrosion resistant. And if you know me, I love my corrosion resistant knife designs and knife steel. Next up, this guy is actually surprisingly good in the hand. This actually fits me better in the hand than the Giant Mouse Ace Rift, which is actually a great knife design ergonomically, but this guy is even better. Couple of reasons for that. Number one, you have some nice chamfering on the edges of the handles here, and because of the stone wash, it actually rounds the edges a little bit more, so it fits nicely in the hand despite it being this kind of flat stainless steel construction. You have some nice textures around the knife. You have this texture right here, which just adds just a nice amount of grip in the back here where my fingers land, and you have this nice jimping in the back. No jimping at the front, which is unfortunate because I would really love to have jimping up here where my thumb purchases on the blade, on the spine of the blade. Having some jimping right here, fantastic. That would have been great. You can choke up a little bit, but this part gets me a little bit nervous because I'm so close to the blade. But other than that, I don't normally choke up, although I can. I don't normally do that. Holding it back here like this, great control of the blade. You have this nice utility feel. You get about 3 fingers there, and you get the pinky in the back to help stabilize it. Great for this kind of carving cuts. And on top of that, the blade design, fantastic. The Razel blade shape is quickly becoming one of my favorite blade edge designs out there right now, because you get a lot of flat, tiny bit of curve here. You actually get a second sharpened edge, and it comes to a nice point. And this is by far the best box cutter knife I have in my entire collection. The best box cutter knife I have in my entire collection. You just have so much control. You have a little flat plane here that's unsharpened for your index finger. You can just really penetrate the box just with the corner here, and then you can just pull it through the box and not harm anything else on the inside. Great knife design. I just love this. This is one of those knives that really took me by surprise. I thought there were going to be a lot of like nitpicks with this guy. To be fair, there are some nitpicks. Okay, it has a kind of a pingy sound effect. You hear that? It doesn't have any jimping on the flipper tab, but And it was actually quite hard to flip this guy in the beginning, but this has worn in very, very nicely. Really like this guy. Now, so this is my most carried budget knife. Another knife that I tend to carry a lot is this guy. This is the Quiet Carry Waypoint. It has Vanex steel, LC200N liners, G10 scales, titanium hardware, very deep carry pocket clip, and I forgot to mention this guy also has a deep carry pocket clip with the flat screws, so it actually fits into the pocket seam very nicely. So this guy, definitely it's the most weather resistant knife here. I mean, Vanex is nearly or practically rust proof, LC200N practically rust proof, titanium rust proof, and yeah, just overall a great knife design. I was kind of like on the fence about this knife when I first got it, because it wasn't really that ergonomic of a knife from an opening perspective and from a handle perspective. Even till today, I've realized I'm not a fan of these kind of straight handle ergonomics, because I like that little bit of curve back here. But this guy, everything else about this guy has overcome it. You have nice grippage, you have nice texturing. This G10 is nicely textured. You have some nice jimping right where my thumb lands. You have very little hotspot. You do have a bit of a corner in the pocket clip here, which can be a little bit of a hotspot, but it's not too bad. You have a knife that's easy to take apart. You just unscrew this screw, this screw, this screw, and on the titanium version, that's it. But on the G10 version, you have a few screws on the inside you need to unscrew. However, I've removed those screws. In fact, one broke. So now, all I need to do is just unscrew 1, 2, 3, and the knife comes, sorry, 1 and 2, and you don't even need to take out the pocket clip screw, and then the knife just comes out like the titanium handle version, which is just 2 screws to come out and it's out. And I honestly don't understand why they didn't just do that from the beginning with the G10 version. I did message them on Instagram. They said that it's because if you just have the 2 screw on G10, it's not that secure, but this is plenty secure in my opinion. Just do what you did with the titanium version on the G10 version, and I wouldn't have needed to take out the screws. But this guy, what do I love about it? The fact that it's completely weatherproof. Okay, it's completely rust proof, which is great in this hot and humid Southeast Asian country. That's the other reason why I love my Native 5 salt. But the Native 5 salt can sometimes be a bit too chunky to put into my pocket just on a grab and go kind of basis. That's kind of a camping knife for me, especially because the blade stock is quite a bit thicker on that guy, so it's a bit more hard use, whereas Vanex is much harder steel. So this guy will hold his edge much better. Couple that with the fact that this is a thinner blade stock with a much thinner grind behind the edge. We have a hollow grind here. This is just a great everyday carry knife for anything that you don't need to hard use. If you have any hard use needs, then you definitely want to bring in something like a LC200N Native 5 Salt or a Delica in LC200N. But this guy, much better for just everyday use, office use, daily carry. Fantastic knife, fantastic design, super simple, and I just love the look at it. Just look at it, very nice. It also has quite a long blade length, 3.3 inches right now, and most of it is sharpened edge. So that's a great advantage of it as well. Sometimes with this guy, you do feel like the blade length is just a little bit short for some of my tasks that I've needed to use it for, if I'm cutting a rope for prop making and stuff like that. Next up, an old favorite of mine. This is the Spyderco Pero 3 lightweight in the CTS BD1N steel. Great knife, great fidgetability, great fidget factor. Compression lock, I love compression lock. After trying like the shark lock and then the button lock and the axis lock, compression lock still my favorite knife out there right now. It is just so simple. It is just a bent piece of steel that goes into the little cavity right here, creating a very strong, very stable lock. I just love it. Drop shuddy. No, maybe not as drop shuddy as like say a Sage 5 lightweight, because those have the pivot bushing, but this guy is just as fall shuddy as it needs to be honest. Great design, great ergonomics. I mean, Spyderco's, Indian Spyderco's really nailed their ergonomics. This guy, really great in the hand. If I had a bit more time, or let's be honest, if I had a bit more effort, I would kind of take some sandpaper, round out the edges here a little bit, because it can be a little sharp. The FRN tends to be a little sharp on the inside here, but other than that, great. This guy is like super dull right now because I've used this guy quite a lot, cutting cardboard mostly. This is very much an Amazon cutter knife. When I'm opening packages, it's normally this guy or this guy because they're so sharp. Okay, but when I'm processing the cardboard, it's most likely going to be this guy. And yeah, this is just a great knife. I mean, you can watch the full review of all these guys. I'm still working on the full review of this guy. It's not out yet, but just the FRN here is much better than the FRN on like a Benchmade bug out. Texture is great. The hand placements that your hand goes into is really great. What I am waiting for is that I've seen AWT work on some skinny handle mods for the lightweight. Now the lightweight Pero 3 doesn't have that much after or third-party scale options out there. You get a lot of it for the Pero 3, but I've not seen, maybe I've only seen one for the lightweight. So now the AWT is coming up with the, I think they're aluminium skinny blade mods, where they kind of, the handles are kind of flat here. And I felt those before on a Pero 3 and they feel great. So I'm really excited to try that as well. But if you're a person with bigger hands, you're gonna appreciate this palm swell a little bit more. As for me, I kind of prefer the skinny mods that I've tried on the regular Pero 3 before. Okay guys, that's it. That is my 3 most used knife of the year as of 12th September or 13th September 2022. We have the CRKT Razecliffe, Quiet Carry Waypoint, and the Spyderco Pero 3 Lightweight. Thanks guys, and as always, stay ready.